Good afternoon, viewers. Today we are going to talk about psychological care of people suspected of having COVID. Or it could be that they already have the symptoms, or it could be that they are already isolated, or it could be that they are in quarantine, or it could be that they are already discharged. As we are aware that it has become very dangerous pandemic for all of us, and mortality is very high among elderly. Solutions can be found, but we are all struggling at the moment. There is fear of uncertainty, stigma, non-availability of standard treatment, and large-scale quarantine measures are fueling the mental pressure. Physical symptoms we all are aware: cough, fever, sore throat. Psychological symptoms are very painful: anxiety, fear, depression, denial, anger outburst, post-traumatic stress disorder, and stigma. Psychological symptoms are commonly seen among patients, their family members, their family caregivers, healthcare providers. Now, anxiety is very high because nobody knows what's going to happen. There's lack of research, lack of evidence-based treatment, and we don't know what is going to come in future. Disability is another question mark. Stigma, isolation, and so many other things we can think of. If we pick up the newspaper, we can just make out that how many problems can be there, anticipated or unanticipated. So there can be fear of unknown. There is panic everywhere. We have seen example of Italy and Spain. Normally when we have fear, we want to run away from that situation. But here is something which is happening. When we are so fearful, we are being isolated and we are alone, or we are in quarantine. So we cannot share our concerns with anyone. Closeness with others, closeness with near ones is prohibited because social distancing is going to help us to prevent spread of infection. So depression is one of the problems that occur most of the time when people stay in isolation for a very long time, and there could be stigma. Then there is mostly denial when something is happening. Mostly the first reaction will be, no, it's not happening to me. It cannot happen to me. Now because of that, there is a reason why people may be uncaring towards themselves. They may be not taking care of all the precautions for themselves, such as washing hands carefully, or such as using mask, or such as keeping distance. Especially in the family situation, it becomes very difficult to maintain your protocols for self-care, for care of others. And it becomes worse when somebody is sick in the family and you have to isolate them within the family. Now this denial period, if it is for a very long time, that will result in very bad effect, because the person will not be able to see the reality, and it may become very difficult to adjust later on. Now very prolonged isolation, very prolonged lockout, very prolonged quarantine, and these things happening as if it is going to continue, it's not going to stop. It will, lot of restrictions, do's and don'ts, continuously bombarding on the people not to do this, not to do this, and to do that, and lot of anger is there. So many people are spreading rumors. You read the rumors that also create anger. So basically it is helplessness which create anger outburst. Post-traumatic stress disorder can occur following any type of trauma. So here the trauma can be physical, it can be psychological, it can be social. So we have different type of trauma here. We have never been separated from our family. Now when you put in quarantine, you are suddenly separated from your family. You are not prepared for it. So every situation in pandemic of corona has become a reason for a person to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, stigma here is manifold because it seems like you have done a mistake of going abroad and you have come back with some infection. You have done mistake of socializing. You have done mistake of talking normally with people with close distance. You have done mistake of touching them. You have done mistake of giving them infection. So it's like so many fingers are pointed at you, as if you have done it knowingly, intentionally. You might not have done anything intentionally. You might have done whatever you have done is because you are not even aware that what is happening to you. Then the police will come and put some notice on your home. Everybody will come to know. The ambulance will come and take you for testing. All these things are worrying the people so much that they don't want to come out of the house, and they don't want to share that they have visited abroad, or don't want to share that they have exposure, because they are thinking that society will stigmatize them. There was example of one air hostess who is working in airline. So the people started ill-treating her mother when she goes to the market. So people don't want to share and tell. There is a lot of stigma because of lack of knowledge. People are ignoring you, neglecting you, or sometimes abusing you, or sometimes even treating you very badly, such as asking the people like nurses, doctors to leave the house, rented accommodation, asking paying guest person to leave the house. So suddenly so many people who were so happy till yesterday have developed so much of fear of so many kinds that this will take a toll on their psychological health. Now let us look at the isolation and quarantine. How does it affect the mental health of a person? Now here we are separating sick person having contagious disease from healthy people with those who don't have the contagious disease. And quarantine restricts the movement of people who are exposed to contagious disease to see if they become sick. Isolation and quarantine help to protect the public by preventing exposure to people who may have or may not have contagious disease. Both are very important steps in prevention and spread of COVID-19 infection. But isolation can be extremely frightening and anxiety-provoking experience. See, look at ourselves nowadays. We are so active socially. We are so active outside, and suddenly you are put in isolation. It disrupts the normal routine, gives stress resulting emotional and behavioral manifestations, create feelings of loneliness, stigma, depression, keeps a person away from familiar objects and routine, which may evoke fear, anxiety, depression, rapid mood swings. Due to infectious disease affects the attitude of hospital staff, which is in turn affects their care. That is another thing. The patient thinks that the family is also treating them differently. The hospital is also treating them differently. So when we are taking care of such people, we have to make sure that organize the isolation room in such a way that environment becomes as normal as possible. Not like hospital setting, but it should be very much close to their natural environment. Staff should encourage patients to express their negative feelings associated with being in isolation. Because if they express, then at least we will know they are afraid of what. We can clarify their doubts so that prompt strategies can be implemented. Relieving boredom is very important aspect. Anybody not having anything to do, nothing to say, and nobody to talk to, and nobody to meet, and no socialization, no routine, it becomes very difficult not to be bored. So encourage use of TV, radio, newspaper, other audiovisual devices, music, etc. Use of information leaflets can be given that can help them to read through how it is helping others if they are isolated, how it is helping others not to get infected. So they can develop some more knowledge on and feel good that if they are isolated, they are doing something good for others. Communication. Allow patient to do frequent phone calls and video conferencing if it is available. That way the contact can be maintained. The patient can maintain contact with people he wants to talk to. Now, how to maintain mental health in outbreak? Maintaining positive perspective is the first thing that something better will happen. Research is going on. People are working very hard to find out solution to this problem, and something good will happen in future, and we all can contribute in that future thing happening by isolating, by listening to the instructions for hand washing, by doing appropriate behavior during lockout, and creating harmony as much as possible according to the possibilities. So we should not forget that medical, scientific and public health experts are working very hard against this deadly virus, and how we can participate is by following instructions given by government and by doctors and nurses and public health workers. Hope is the best medicine, so we have to create hope. It is very true that very soon we will have a definite answer or vaccine for this virus. The sense of hope instead of sense of fear can allow all of us to feel better, cooperate with one another, and a vital element in defeating this outbreak. So we all have to feel that I am contributing to prevention of infection to others. I am contributing in teaching everybody how to follow protocols. I am participating in public health measures. I am participating in government measures. I am participating in legal measures. So that will give a sense of hope that I have participation in prevention of this infection to others. Then rumors and speculations can again increase anxiety or initiate anxiety. Having access to good quality information about COVID-19 can help to feel more in control. Whatever is scientific, those type of information should be given to the patient, and we should also collect the correct scientific information, get up-to-date information and advice on viral infection from definite sources, which are government sources like WHO, Ministry of Family Health and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Helpline numbers can be used to get more information. Helpline websites can be used to get more information. We can attend different educational programs from government institutions. We can also see e-learning modules which are there on very certified websites. Each government also issued their own support services. Like if you are in Delhi, or if you are in Amritsar, or if you are in Bangalore, there are special facilities available around your area. So during your isolation, whom you can contact, during quarantine, whom you can contact, during asymptomatic infection, whom you can contact. If you have any query, you can contact. At AIIMS also we have a helpline where you can make phone call and get your queries answered. So such numbers and such websites have to be given wide publicity, so people will maintain better perspective and feel more in control. Actually, when we are more aware, then we become more in control. Don't assume anything which can escalate the false beliefs and complicate the situation. So don't forward any messages received from anybody. Media provides us information that help us to keep ourselves. So media is very important, but it is also important to abstain from unnecessary negative information. So maintaining a balance is important. Extensive panic can cause difficulties and further complicate effort to manage the outbreak effectively. So stay calm, follow official advice, particularly around observing good hygiene habits, do exercise, meditation, yoga, initiate a hobby. So these are the things which you can advise for people in isolation and quarantine, and you can try to provide some of these things in your isolation units. Provide patient to enjoy the company and support, but with social distancing. So advise everybody they can deal with so many issues of their family issues which they have not discussed for such a long time by doing phone call. Keep in touch with their friends and family by telephone, email, social media for emotional support. Make sure they do not sensationalize issue related to infection. Advise them content sharing on social media. Use factual information and trusted sources. For self-isolation and self-quarantine, advise the suspected of exposure that this is a temporary period of isolation to slow the speed of the virus. So they are contributing in their own welfare and welfare of others. Explain that their efforts are helping to avoid contracting virus. Assist to stay connected. Advise to engage in healthy activities, enjoy relaxing, keep regular sleep routine and eat healthy foods. Try maintain physical activity indoors. Establish routine of isolation time, quarantine time, maybe make a new timetable. Balance between working hours. If they are working from home, they can maintain between work and take regular breaks also. It should not be that they are continuously working from home and they are continuously on laptop. That also should not happen. And avoid social media if it is giving you distress. Children of patients who have COVID positive status. Now, family and caregivers of children, young people should discuss news of virus with those in care in an open and honest manner. It is very important to explain to children why the closeness is not allowed now, why mother cannot pick up the child because she has infection. Try to relate the facts without causing alarm and in a way that is appropriate for their age and temperament. It is important to listen to any question they may have, to let them know that they are safe and that it is normal to feel concerned. Question asking is normal. So don't make them to keep quiet. Why are you asking so many questions? Try to answer calmly in a best simple manner. You need to identify a surrogate caregiver for children. Otherwise, they will become more anxious. Some common changes to watch will include managing mental health of children who are maybe very young and irritated and crying. And they may become little regressive. They start becoming bedwetting, may become accident prone. They may excessively worry and have sadness. They may have unhealthy eating habits, sleeping habits. They may show acting out behavior, especially teenagers, difficulty in attention and concentration in studies. They may avoid activities which they have been enjoying in the past. They may have aches and pains and headaches which they never had. So talk to the teenager about COVID-19 outbreak. Answer all the questions because teenagers are more inquisitive about what is going to happen. Reassure them, teach them how to be safe, and if they get upset, ask them to share their concerns. Help them to have physical exercise possibilities at home so that stress can be managed. Exposure to family has to be limited, including social media. Sometimes social media can make them more anxious. They can misinterpret, they can get frightened because they don't understand the whole situation. Create a schedule for learning activities and relaxing activities and fun activities if a teenager has to be isolated. You as an adult have to be role model. So teach the parents of teenager that act as a role model, take break, take plenty of sleep, do exercise, eat well, connect with your friends and family so teenager can see you doing that. So this type of advice we give to parents. They themselves are stressful. They themselves are under stress. They will not be able to provide a relaxed and calm environment to others. So there are practical ways of managing mental health during this time. Getting enough rest during work hours and between the shifts is important for health work. Eating healthy foods and engaging in physical activity, keeping in contact with colleagues, family and friends by phone, online, being aware of where you can access mental health support at work, create a mentally healthy work structures and environment. So you can always share your concerns with other professionals in your field or in psychiatry or psychologist. You can talk to counselors. Try to seek support whenever you feel stressed, because the moment outbreak news comes, we all get anxious. So activate support network, acknowledge feelings of distress. We have to realize that I'm in distress, I need help, and immediately you should go for seeking help. Professional support should be taken as early as possible from a psychiatrist, psychologist, and counselor as early as possible, and prepare some treatment plan and monitor symptoms if you develop symptoms and if people around you develop symptoms. So mental health and well-being is very important at this point when you are stressed out and you are working with high risk patients. Everybody's
Good afternoon to all of you. Today I'll be talking about a very important topic which everybody is discussing about is stress related to COVID-19. As we know, this is an unprecedented incident which we are facing. Much less is known about the virus and the treatment modalities are not established. So thereby that increases the amount of stress, especially to the healthcare provider who is in the first line of contact with the patients. So today I'm going to talk about what is stress, what are the different stressors, and my talk is going to be about the stress, the psychological aspect of COVID-19, the experience, the challenging experience the healthcare providers are facing, what is the existing lacuna, we will very briefly discuss that, and the most important and evident area is that how to cope with this corona outbreak, and as a healthcare provider, how to manage your own stress, fear and anxiety. We know that nurses are the first line workers and they are 24/7 with the patients, and thereby they are exposed to, they have a higher level of being exposed to the virus and face the human suffering, which currently is a public health emergency of international level. Therefore, the mental health well-being of the nurses and the healthcare providers is a very pertinent issue, because if they have mental hemostasis, then only can they provide quality patient care which they are supposed to be rendering. This was a recent article which was published in JAMA which had discussed the Chinese nurses who were working with these COVID-19 patients in Wuhan, and they have been reported, the article reports that high level of depression, stress, anxiety, insomnia and distress was seen among these healthcare providers, thereby requiring psychosocial support interventions. Now, as a healthcare provider, especially nurses, they are the primary caregivers, and that can create a panic at such times of a pandemic. And we can experience similar physical symptoms like that of the patient, and because of the stress, there can be some physical manifestations also seen in the person. The healthcare providers and nurses are prone to have this secondary traumatic stress. This is basically stress reactions to the symptoms resulting because of some traumatic incidents like an outbreak or a disaster which a person faces. And the manifestations of this traumatic stress is cognitively the person may have lowered concentration, apathy, rigid thinking, perfectionism and preoccupation with trauma. Emotionally, the individual may feel guilt, anger, numbness, sadness and helplessness. Behaviorally, it can manifest like the individual can have withdrawal, sleep disturbance, appetite change, hypervigilance, and elevated startle reflex. Physically, the individual can have increased heart rate, difficulty in breathing, muscle and joint pain, impaired immune system, and increased severity of medical concerns. There are some things which nurses should be beware of, like excessively worrying or fear about something bad is happening, which we call it as catastrophic thinking. We should abstain from that. Individual, because of stress and panic, can be easily startled and be on guard all the time. There can be physical signs of stress. We had discussed this in the previous slide. There can be nightmares or recurrent thoughts about traumatic situation, and the feeling that others' trauma is yours as well. This is a stress cycle which talks about individual can experience pain, which can also have reduced activity, which may be of work, may face fatigue and lack of stamina, muscle weakness, reduced fitness, stress, anxiety and tension, poor sleep, anger, fear, frustration, low mood, negative thinking. This is a stress cycle which a healthcare provider can experience. We know this is a new virus and not much is known about this. So thereby there is an existing lacuna in the clinical practice, like short supply of PPE. Though our administration and government is trying our level best to provide the PPEs to all the healthcare providers. They are working 24/7 to provide a safe environment for the healthcare providers to work in. There can be manpower issues. We don't have enough staff in certain areas, and people are not trained or equipped to handle this pandemic, the treatment approaches of COVID-19. So as a healthcare provider, one should be very meticulous regarding maintaining hand hygiene and personal hygiene as a topmost priority, because only if you are well, only if you are healthy, only if you are taking care of yourself, you can take care of others. We already all know this, that how we can prevent the transmission by having proper cough etiquettes, cover your mouth and nose while coughing, appropriately use PPE depending on which healthcare setting you are working. We had a class on this in our last webinar. Then wash your hands regularly with soap and water or alcohol-based rub. Now coming to the most important topic is that how to manage stress and improve your coping at this time of the disaster. It's like a health emergency. How do you handle this? Which is very important, because only if the healthcare provider is de-stressed, he is able to provide or give good quality care. Now, as a healthcare provider, it is normal and natural that one can feel stressed, apprehensive, tensed. These are all normal reactions. There's nothing wrong with it. It is not a sign of weakness. This is a normal human reaction to react to an abnormal situation. So acknowledge and understand our reactions. Acknowledge that we have reactions to increased stressors, and we can have lack of adequate rest and sleep, have erratic eating schedules because of this pandemic which we are facing, especially when you are the first-line worker. These things can be compromised, and you're not able to eat properly because of the workload once the patient starts coming in. Then too much information overload, that is also sometimes a kind of deterrent, because that creates a lot of distress in an individual. The kind of information the media is giving on every day-to-day basis, increased work and personal responsibilities, and limited resources. So these are some of the stresses which a healthcare provider can face, and we as the frontline workers are very vulnerable. Therefore, extra support is required. Now, how do you combat stress is that you take care of yourself also, because then if you take care of yourself, you can provide the services which you are expected to provide. Eat regular meals, especially in meals, eat nutritious, well-balanced diet. Don't eat high sugars, don't consume. Use daily routine to prepare your bed, have a proper quality sleep, go to bed on time, maintain sleep hygiene. And this is very important in this time of distress. Keep connected with your friends and family. Then take out time for your mental health. Take a break, as I talked about, from media coverage. Sometimes too much exposure regarding COVID news can take a toll on your mental health. Like, take breaks from watching news all the time. Unplug yourself from electronic devices, including TV, cell phones, and when you leave from work, leave work at work. Don't carry your work home, because that can increase your stress. Take a moment during the day and unwind yourself. Now, how do you schedule your own self-care? When you go home, cultivate a habit which you can do indoors, or cultivate a hobby. Don't be afraid to say no in case you are given extra responsibilities which you cannot handle. Very gently and a very democratic way, you can say no. But always say yes to friends, family, and colleagues. Make time for self-care, that is, talk to a friend, read a book. It is always very rejuvenating to do yoga and meditation. One should always, when you're coping, should have a wellness focused coping, like prioritize sleep. One should get proper amount of sleep depending on your sleep cycle and how much time of sleep you require in a day. Focus on nutrition, as I said. Focus on immune boosting foods like green leafy vegetables, citrus foods, turmeric, ginger and garlic. So take foods which are well balanced, and eat plant proteins. Listen to music. It's a very good way of de-stressing. Whatever music you like, you can listen to the music and embrace our spirituality. So this is wellness focused coping. Then problem focused coping is always focus on controlling the present. Don't think about tomorrow. Have here and now approach. Focus on the present, how you can make a difference. One should know how to manage time. You prioritize, you do the important things first, and you can always defer the things which are not so important to a later time. Rent a second brain. That means talking things always helps. It always helps to steam off. It helps in ventilation. It is like a catharsis. And having someone who's independent, a person, you can always talk to a person who's not a part of your family or friends or work colleagues, because that helps to that person. If you're telling your problem, that person will have a more objective perspective, and that will take the emotions out of the situation. and the information or the feedback he will give you or the support he or she will give you will be more neutral. One should encourage positive self-talk, which is very important. Reframe and rethink, and if you have a negative thought, you can always focus on the positive. The same situation can be interpreted in the positive way. For example, if you have this negative thought, all of us are having this concern that what will happen once we have this COVID-19, patients start coming in, what will be my future, my family's future, will we all die? Instead of thinking that, which is a negative connotation, we can positively reframe by saying the majority of people who get the virus recover. So instead of pondering and focusing and highlighting the negative, we should train our minds and reframe and start talking positive, that majority of people who have the virus will recover. Ventilation is very important. Take it off your chest. It is always healthy. Share your problem with someone you think you can lean on or depend. Develop a support system, a group of friends who understand your issues and who can give you good inputs regarding situation. If you think you cannot discuss it with something, it is always ready. It is always good to pen it down and seek social support. Then this is also a very good gesture that one should practice gratitude. That you take a deep breath and say aloud 3 things you are grateful for today. Like you have food on the table, you have a roof over your head, you have a regular job. So anything you think in a day you should be grateful for, you should say it aloud, make it a habit. I've been watching videos and YouTube videos about the success stories of how nurses in these countries where it had hit very hard, like Italy, Spain and China, how the nurses have been discussing the success stories. The patient was on ventilator and the patient came out, and when the patient was getting discharged, they were all applauding and clapping for the patient, and this was for the morale of the people working there, and the patient also felt very very respected. So here we have to, as healthcare providers, just not focus on the negative but focus on the positive. So there have been success stories where patients have been treated, were very sick and have gone back. And we all know that around 80% of the patients who have COVID-19 don't require very active ICU care. Most of them recover. So we have to propagate and talk and discuss about the good, happy stories also regarding COVID-19 to boost up the morale of the people who are working with us. During this time of stress, there is a likelihood that people can, adopt unhelpful or unhealthy coping strategies like taking alcohol, tobacco and other drugs. Please abstain from this because this has long-term ill effects on our health. We all know what works for us best. So focus on previous coping strategies which you have used and have worked on to keep yourself psychologically well. We all have to be our own therapist and we should know what works for us best and try doing that so that we are psychologically well. During the time when you are working, you can always take a 5-minute break to stretch yourself, or taking 5 minutes break to stretch yourself or keep away from work can recharge your battery, can help you regain your energy and help you improve your focus. There have always also been reported that there has been stigma which has been faced by the healthcare provider and in their neighborhood or community. Now, this makes the situation more challenging for the healthcare provider, that the person is having very serious working hours and which the person is really working very hard at this time of when we are facing the pandemic. And apart from that, if you face stigma in the community, it can really compound the situation and make the situation more grievous for the healthcare provider. In this area, what we can do is that we can stay connected with our loved ones through digitally, because it's not possible because of social distancing, people cannot travel. So stay connected with your family and friends digitally. Turn to your colleagues or manager or any person you can trust in a social support group. There can be people who are facing the same problem which you are facing. So you can have a kind of a self-help group of colleagues who are sharing the same experience so that they can talk about it, ventilate and learn from each other's experience. Now the nurse managers, who are the nursing administrators, like in our country scenario, the senior nursing officers, the ANSs, they can also take some measures to reduce the stress at the workplace. Like they have to keep their staff protected from chronic stress and improve their mental health by being supportive and encouraging. They should ensure that there is a good communication among the members of the healthcare team. Whatever new guidelines are coming, the healthcare team should be updated with the guidelines. They can rotate the healthcare provider, like nurses, from high stress responsibility to low stress responsibility and from low stress to high stress responsibility. Nobody should be too much overworked that a person has been working for a long period of time in a very high stress area, which can be detrimental for the health of the person. So they can rotate people as per the shifts. Another thing which can be done is like a buddy system, that they can partner an inexperienced worker or inexperienced nurse with a more experienced nurse, which can help them to improve their quality of work and help them to take care of the patients as a team in a much better manner. And there are certain healthcare helplines which are available. So as a nurse administrator, you should encourage and tell your team members that in case they feel pressure is too overwhelming and they have a problem in working, they can also approach these helpline numbers to get the necessary help which is required. Like Indian Association of Clinical Psychologists, as you can see in the slide, this is the helpline number. There are certain contacts number of the people you can talk to in case you feel the stress is too difficult for you to bear. So when we are getting a lot of information from media and other sources, please, when you are accessing, please see how reliable and trustworthy are the sources, like WHO, our Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, ICMR. These are the trusted and reliable information sources regarding COVID-19. Always reach out for support if you think you require. Don't hesitate to ask for help. Always remember that our country has faced pandemics and epidemics before, and we have come out of it. So we will come out of this also. We have to always see the light at the end of the tunnel and keep the morale of the healthcare team up. So we have faced issues before, we have faced epidemics before, we have come out of it, we will come out of this one also. This too shall pass. Whole health begins with mental health. Let it begin with you. Every one of us makes a difference. This is a very favorite quote of mine of Mother Teresa, which says we ourselves feel that what we are doing is like a drop in the ocean, but the ocean would be less because of that missing drop. So all of us as healthcare providers can make a difference. We have to have the will to make a difference, and especially in this hour of need, when our country needs our support and our help, we have to give our 100% to combat this pandemic. Thank you so much.
Assessment is one of the important role of the nurse. Assessment related to psychosocial issues in community and hospital settings, presence of psychiatric symptoms in patients and healthcare workers, screening for psychological distress, identify and report, and do consultation with psychiatrists. How to manage psychological issues. Timely referral for identified psychological problems at various levels, strengthening and utilizing available social services to address psychosocial issues, do counseling, maintain physical distance, not social distance, stay home, be calm and practical, keep regular routine and eat healthy foods, sleep adequately, get correct information from authorized source, make healthy balance on media coverage, take help from police if required, NGOs if required, and nearest hospital if required. The psychological issues can also be managed with pharmacological treatments, with consultation of psychiatrist. If there is history of psychiatric disorder, there is history of substance use, then specific treatment management will be required during isolation, quarantine, and lockout. Then time-bound behavioral therapy also can be provided for people who are exhibiting signs of mental disorders to reduce the cognitive effects of pandemic. Helping the people to do adjustment, personal adjustment to face the situation is a very important challenge. This involves behavior emotional responses coupled with psychotherapeutic treatments based on model of stress adaptation. The government and health organizations should ensure the secure electronic information sharing and telepsychiatry and telemedicine psychological counseling, promote legal information and eliminate cases of isolation. More enforcement on awareness online training for health workers, and the confidence in health workers will help them to make people relax when they are in isolation. So for nurse, get trained in managing care protocols, barrier and isolation nursing, training is essential. Be well informed in all practices, confidence in maintaining PPE, confident in how to assess psychological distress, confident in how to assess depression, call for consultation or psychiatrist and psychologist, keep talking to patient while doing procedures, reassure appropriately, Get the history in detail regarding previous psychiatric disorder, substance use, so that you can specifically get consultation for them. The COVID pandemic is very, very stressful and traumatic, as it requires isolation very long time and create panic due to uncertainty, can take an emotional toll on nurse as well. Training and training and training is the only key. So nurses should go for training. You can attend webinar, you can attend online programs, you can do telephonic consultations, you can conduct seminars. There are things you can do to reduce impact on mental health by acknowledging that there is distress, by identifying the distress, identifying psychological reactions, learn the symptoms of psychological distress, fear, withdrawal, guilt, seek consultation with psychiatrists, take breaks in between, maintain your own mental health, ask for help if you feel overwhelmed or concerned with COVID-19 is affecting your ability to care for patients as you could do earlier. During break, talk about anything except COVID so that you have some distraction. There are things you can do to reduce secondary traumatic stress reactions. Acknowledge that secondary traumatic stress reactions can impact anyone, helping families after a traumatic event. Learn the symptoms including fatigue, illness, fear, withdrawal, guilt. Allow time for you and your family to recover from responding to pandemic. Create menu for personal self-care activities that you enjoy, such as spending time with friends, family, exercising, reading a book. Take a break from media coverage on COVID. Protect themselves from COVID, socially and psychologically. Avoid substance use at all times. Specialized counseling may be arranged if required. If medications are prescribed by psychiatrists, it must be encouraged to comply with advice. Prevention is the only way to take care of this COVID issue. Maintain positive attitude in people affected is necessary to maintain mental stability. Seek professional help if feeling overwhelmed or concerned.